I meant to make this video weeks ago, but I never bothered to get around with it. Now that I have this very rare chance that I have to make a video response in such a short period of time, and, part of me wishes that I don't have to make a video on Laci Green, but I have a bone to pick with her.
Have you ever worried that someone was lying about rape? Every single time a woman comes forward about having been abused by a beloved movie star, musician, TV star, YouTubers, that star's fans immediately accuse her of lying.
Well, there has to be some form of skepticism. Keep in mind that evidence is what people need in order to judge. Sure, fans will defend their favorite actor, but there will also be people who will take the side of the victim just for being the victim. Overall, it all depends on the situation at hand.
There are men's groups online that claim that women lie about rape 90% of the time.
Citation needed. I've never seen any MRA say that. If there are, then please show me, because whoever says it is a moron.
A sheriff in Idaho very recently claimed that they don't need a better system for rape kits which collect evidence because most victims are liars.
The majority of our rapes that are called in are actual consensual sex.
That is not what he's saying. He's saying that the majority of so-called rape victims are not victims at all, but rather people who had consensual sex. Nowhere in that part of the video has he stated that we don't need rape kits. And unless you can show me the original video where he specifically states that the state doesn't need rape kits, what you're doing, Laci, is taking someone out of context. And that is just plain dishonest.
And I mean, look, couldn't you or me or anybody in the world just make up a rape for attention to get revenge out of jealousy, as Toby Turner's mom posted on Facebook? Yeah, you could totally do that. But would you do that?
Yes? Do you have any idea the amount of damage one can do just accusing someone as a rapist? Family members would question him. Friends don't want to associate with him. His image is tarnished by the media and society. No girl will want to be with him. And worst of all, even if he's proven to be innocent, as if all the evidence presented in the court of law shows that he's never raped a woman, people like yourself will still want his head on a silver platter because somehow we still live in a fucking rape culture. And people will still dehumanize him no matter what happens. So he's fucked. And the best part is that one accusing him of rape never gets punished at all. She is seen as the hero by the feminists just for speaking out against rape.
And how often does that actually happen? The FBI states that between 2 and 8% of rape reports are false, which is actually a low number in the crime world.
The number has been proven to be wrong. There is a video on the internet that I'd like to show you, and I will play a clip so that way you get the picture. But if you want to see the whole video, click on the link in the description.
The first problem is its listing of false accusations in the not reported group. This is blatantly trying to play down false accusations, because logically a false accusation must have been reported, because that's how false accusations work. So we'll move those two into the reported group. Now there is a good chance they'd fit in face trial or even jailed, as we've seen that happen. I mean, look at Brian Banks, Kevin Driscoll, the Duke lacrosse team, or any number of the men who've been freed by the Innocence Project. But we will give the statistics the benefit of the doubt, and we'll leave the figures simply in reported. Now let's move on. The next issue is how padded this infographic is. The whole block of rapists that denotes those who were not reported is padding. You can't say for certain how many people did not report something, because they did not report it. You can estimate, sure, but a guess has no place in actual statistics like this, unless you're deliberately trying to trigger an emotional response and manipulate. So we'll get rid of this block entirely. Interestingly enough, we now have exactly 100 figures, with 2 figures representing 2% of accusations being false. If that isn't proof of padding, well, what is? The third problem is that the infographic assumes guilty until proven innocent. It assumes that those who went to trial and not to jail, and those who were reported and didn't go to trial, and even those who weren't reported, although as I've said that number is a guess, were all guilty. No evidence required. The bottom line here is that unless someone has been conclusively found guilty or innocent, we can't say for certain. To assume their guilt is directly in contravention of one of the most important cornerstones of justice, the principle of innocent until proven guilty. And so this whole block of reported/face trial, it's pretty irrelevant, so we'll merge it and we'll call it inconclusive. Already you can see how much of a difference being honest about statistics has made. The false accusations are a much larger percentage of the overall image and been placed in the correct section. But we aren't done yet. Finally, the infographic uses the lowest possible number of false accusations. Now, some studies, such as the Eugene Kanin study, found false rape accusation rates as high as 40% of all accusations. But we won't use those. We'll use the statistics from the Enliven project, the people who created this. Because maybe they never heard of Eugene Kanin. So what do the Enliven project statistics say? 2 to 8% of accusations are false. Because now we have to ask, why would someone deliberately use the lowest possible estimate available to them? It's actually a simple answer. It's to downplay the commonality and severity of a crime which destroys lives and is treated as nothing more than a joke by most.
Other crimes, like say theft, they hover around 10% false reports. And even that 2 to 8% statistic is deceptive. It includes reports where someone accidentally identified the wrong person, reports that are thrown out because of inconsistent details, but it is a well-known fact amongst victimologists that trauma affects your memory. And that 2 to 8% includes survivors who recanted. Someone could take it back because they were lying, sure, but much more commonly, they take it back because they're being pressured to take it back.
Again, all the information you need is right there in the description down below. Yes, trauma affects the memory, but it doesn't really do us any good if there's hardly any evidence.
Or because they've decided they'd rather just not deal with it. So what does this mean? It means that malicious, actually false reports and allegations are pretty rare. And yet, doubting someone, calling them a liar when they come forward is extremely common.
Because, Laci, if we just take the side of the victim and jail the so-called rapist without giving some form of skepticism, do you have any idea on how many women can abuse this system, especially feminists on the internet?
Many of the reasons why we're inclined to doubt someone revolve around rape myths, myths about victims, and myths about gender. For one, most perpetrators aren't greasy, creepy guys who hang out in the shadows. They're just regular people in our lives. When fans, friends, family, coworkers find out that someone that they know and love did something terrible, it can be really hard to grapple with and accept, and instead, they choose to deny it. That halo effect around a perpetrator can be so strong that you can have cases like Cosby's where nearly 60 women come forward and report and people still don't believe that anything happened.
Don't you find it rather odd to decide that now they just come out despite the fact that it happened more than 10 or 20 years ago? I understand the drama they went through, but even so, they decided that only recently it's best to call him a rapist. You have any idea on how evidence work? You can't just take someone's word for it. Otherwise, I can say that you sexually assaulted me, Laci, and everyone else can do the exact same thing.
Sometimes the perpetrator even goes so far as to say, I didn't do it. They're lying.
And what do you expect them to say? To be quiet?
This affirms people who don't want to believe that the sexual assault happened. There are a lot of people, particularly in the States, who believe that in order for a rape to be real, you have to have reported it. And in order for that report to be true, a court must convict them as guilty. Now, in reality, about 68% of victims of sexual crimes don't report, and only 2% of rapists ever see a day in jail.
Again, I just showed the video proving the numbers to be fake.
Does that mean that 98% of people are just lying? No, it means that our courts aren't arbiters of truth, and they're not always adequately equipped to handle sexual crimes.
Or you're just leaning towards the least amount of false accusations in order to have a fucking narrative.
Then there are myths about how a real victim would act. In reality, there's no one response to sexual assault. Different people handle it in lots of different ways. Another myth when it comes to men is the belief that men can't actually be raped. Men want sex all the time. He had an erection. He was into it. But an erection is not consent.
Well, credibility is given when it's due, at least you know that.
And increased blood flow can be a fight or flight response. Lastly, one of the sneakiest and I think most pervasive reasons why people don't believe survivors is that most survivors are women. There are many subconscious sexist beliefs that we learn all throughout our lives that come in and inform our opinions. That women lie a lot, we're not trustworthy, we're manipulative, you know, bitches be crazy.
But who's saying that? Evidence, Laci, or it's just not true.
When those attitudes and biases within ourselves go unchecked, they absolutely do real damage. But wait, what if it really is actually truly false? False reports are illegal, and they're typically taken pretty seriously when they surface. It's really important to talk about them, because ultimately, in this fight, we're fighting for justice.
Yes, that is the point of innocent until proven guilty. But the numbers you have presented are not true. And even if they were, that fact for you is, evidence is a bunch of women claiming to be sexually assaulted. It's fucked up. Again, this is why I'm naming my video Laci Green Sexually Assaulted Me, because that is enough to at least put you on trial.
For everyone. So we need to pay attention in the rare moments that this happens to address them, to better understand them. And we do a whole lot of talking about false reports, which is why we also need to talk about the reality that sexual assault accounts are nearly always true.
Which is wrong again.
How we more readily believe someone who says they've been robbed than they've been raped.
These two cannot be compared because the effects are different. Anyone can steal anything and you can claim stolen property. Plus, unlike raping, you can't just point a finger at someone and claim they stole your stuff without evidence. On the other hand, you could just point to the person who raped you and there will be a court. Plus, once again, the one who's being accused of being a rapist has his entire life ruined, even if he's proven to be innocent. And the only way you can compare the two is how it happened. Rape and theft can both be prevented if done right. If you lock the doors and windows at night, the chances of some burglar coming into your house goes down in the same way that you avoid drinking alcohol reduces the chances of you being taken advantage in a bar.
How men are far more likely to be sexually assaulted than to be falsely accused. How it's far more common that a survivor is convinced to back down by the public, friends, family, even the police when something horrible did happen. We need to talk about how widespread myths and disbelief protect abusers and allow them to keep on abusing others.
Take your own advice, Laci.
If false reports are something that worries you, know that statistically, you're on the side of reason and justice and truth to believe someone who comes forward. We need to be willing to face the truth, to approach justice honestly, even when the perpetrator is someone that we know and love.
Okay then. Laci Green has molested me. Everyone start making videos and claim that Laci Green molested me, so that way the police has no choice but to believe the massive majority of people and send Laci Green to jail. I am the Atheist Gamer and keep gaming on.